You're watching The Road to the Kentucky Derby.
Today, Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith is more than just a workout partner for up-and-coming star Drayden Van Dyke.
And the first time I met him, he'd come in the jog room and he was working on the equicizer.
And he showed me little things on the equicizer, and we hit it off like right away.
He became kind of his kind of big brother, kind of mentor.
Also, in this week's flashback, it's the 10th anniversary of one of the biggest upsets in Kentucky Derby history.
Mind That Bird is the poster child for proof that a Derby winner can come from anywhere.
And All Ball Family Stables is looking for a fourth straight trip to Churchill Downs for another unforgettable experience.
You take that walk over, if you don't have tears in your eyes, I have to question there's something wrong with you, because it's the most emotional day I can ever remember.
Each year, more than 20,000 foals are born. For future champions, this is where the road begins.
Good magic to the front of the field in the bluegrass. Audible, no doubt about it. Justify winning the Santa Anita Derby.
At age 3, only 20 can enter the starting gates on the first Saturday of May.
All right for Justify.
This is The Road to the Kentucky Derby, presented by Woodford Reserve.
The road continues as we've made our way here to the home of the Arkansas Derby, Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs. Hi everyone, I'm Jordan Wetley, and thanks for joining us as we make our way around the country. Now, trainers want to make sure their horses are getting better with each performance along the road so that they are at their peak on the first Saturday in May. Now let's take a look at the current leaderboard, which will continue to change throughout the day as horses compete in the Wood Memorial, Bluegrass Stakes, and Santa Anita Derby. One man looking to be on the final leaderboard for the 4th straight year, owner Dennis Alba. Now, Mr. Alba built an incredibly successful business in the agricultural field from the ground up. And when he and his son-in-law fell in love with racing, it became a family business, as we find out in this week's Owner's Box.
I got started in the horse business about 10 years ago. My son-in-law got me interested in it. As a kid, he was always very intrigued by the horses and loved them a lot.
We just had a little racing stable out of Prairie Meadows, partnered up with Donegal Racing also. Dennis said, this is a lot of fun, but can we get some more horses, because we'd like to have more action out here? And I said, yeah, that's no problem. I can take care of that. We'll get some more horses.
He talked me into buying into this one horse by the name of Miss Macy Sue.
Miss Macy Sue winning the winning colors by 2.
That really spoiled me. That horse made just short of $1 million. And I thought, boy, we can't go wrong in this horse business.
Dennis is one of the hardest working men I've ever been around in my entire life. He likes his hobbies. He doesn't do anything half. When he gets involved in something, he goes full. He's got the nicest car collection. He owns his own golf course. Everything he does is A+ top scale, and it's beautiful to see.
I got the one car, and then I decided, look, I told my wife, I just want to get the Tri-Series. She remembers that statement very often. She'll bring that up to me. I actually have to walk through and count them every now and then I know how many I got. I think it's about 174, something like that.
Dennis really wanted to get to the big stage and get to the Kentucky Derby, so in 2013, he came to us and said, I'm going to give you this much money. I want to go buy 10 colts. Brody's Cause was the start of this program, and named after Dennis's nephew. It was such a cool experience, and this is something we can do. And small town guys from Iowa thinking that we're going to go compete in the Kentucky Derby circuit.
We run them like at Tampa Bay, and then we took them up, and then we took them to the Bluegrass in Kentucky. And man, there's not a bigger excitement, not just winning that race, which is a big accomplishment alone. To win a Grade 1 is a major accomplishment. Knowing that if you win that race, you're in the Kentucky Derby.
The day of the Derby is it's kind of a blah, really. That's all you're thinking about. It's the race. And you take that walk over, and you see that grandstand with 150,000 people, and Dale Romans is leading the charge, and they're yelling his name. You're yelling your horse's name. And if you don't have tears in your eyes, I have to question there's something wrong with you, because it's the most exciting, emotional day I can ever remember.
In 2017, we got into the Derby with a horse called J-Boy. We also got him qualified through a Grade 1 at Keeneland.
It was a horse that I named after myself. My nickname is J-Boy, so it was a real special for me.
And he was an excellent horse also. We run him later on into Belmont and in the Derby.
We felt like with his pedigree that he really had a chance going into the Kentucky Derby, that he could compete. Unfortunately, J-Boy did not finish real well in the Kentucky Derby. He got 16th. The thing about horse racing for us is we try to incorporate so many people and friends and family. It's just not about the race, it's about the whole week experience.
In 2018, we got a horse qualified by the name of Free Drop Billy. A lot of people ask me where that name come from. Well, as a golfing buddy of mine, we would be over by this rock wall, and obviously the rocks he say are man-made. They are man-made. So he said it's man-made, so he gets a free drop. And I kept arguing with him, no, it's not a free drop. And finally, after watching him do it several times, I said, you do that again, I'm gonna name a horse after you. Well, sure enough, he did.
At the Bluegrass Stakes, he qualified for the Kentucky Derby, making it our third consecutive Kentucky Derby. It's been lucky when we name horses after people, they seem to do really well. This year we have 2 horses that are going to be on the trail competing for our 4th consecutive Kentucky Derby. Admire is named after a news anchor here in Des Moines, Iowa, Michael Admire. Last 3 years he come down and did weekly coverage of the Kentucky Derby for the local news here. And so he just absolutely loved it, scheduled his bachelor party on the Derby, just had a great time. And so we're like, hey, we're naming a horse after you.
Come On Jerry is a Canadian bred horse. It was our first one having a Cairo Prince, a thoroughbred. Jerry was an excellent friend of mine that passed away about a year ago. We would go to breakfast and everything, and then I'd always get up, we'd go work on an old car, we'd go clean the warehouse or out and around, and always had to yell, come on, Jerry, let's go. For 35 years, we were tight friends. It was a tough day when I lost him. If he would get into Derby, we would probably be inviting a lot of his family members to go.
It's so neat, you know, when you can incorporate some personal value to your horse and have him make the Kentucky Derby, it'd be so special.
Just an overall thrill of getting to the Kentucky Derby is unbelievable.
There's no real science on how you win the Kentucky Derby. That's the beauty of it. Anyone can buy a $10,000 horse or a $1 million horse. There's no science on how you win the Kentucky Derby. So we just keep trying to tweak our system and trying to find, you know, the best race horses we can at these sales.
Coming up next, generations of all ages can experience America's greatest race year-round at the Kentucky Derby Museum.
Well, our mission here is to engage, excite, and educate everyone about the extraordinary event that is the Kentucky Derby.
Welcome back to the Road to the Kentucky Derby, presented by Woodford Reserve.
We mentioned earlier the importance of having your horse on top of its game for the first Saturday in May. Well, this year marks the 10th anniversary of a horse that did just that. Some say peaking in the middle of the race in an incredible come-from-behind victory. It's Mind That Bird in this week's Kentucky Derby Flashback, brought to you by TwinSpires.com.
The 2009 Kentucky Derby, I'll never forget. It was wild.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
It just turned into one of the most unbelievable derbies ever to watch that race.
When they went around the first turn and entered the backstretch, to have a horse that far back early in a race. I mean, Mind That Bird wasn't in the pan cam. It was so far back. And it wasn't like they were blazing up front.
Well behind the rest of them is Mind That Bird.
Mind That Bird was coming off 2 subpar races. He won a couple races as a 2-year-old, but the horse is 50-1. Nobody saw this one coming.
As the field turns for home.
The closer they got to that far turn, the more Mind That Bird started to pick it up, stride by stride.
You could go back and watch that race 100 times and you won't believe that Mind That Bird got through on the rail like he did. This one was just crazy.
I'm watching, looking down at my program as he passes by, wondering, who is that? And I know the track announcer had similar challenges. Who is this?
From the inside, coming on through. That is Mind That Bird now is coming on to take the lead as they come down to the finish. And a spectacular upset. Mind That Bird has won the Kentucky Derby. An impossible result here.
Mind That Bird is the poster child for proof that a Derby winner can come from anywhere. And at that time, nobody was riding better at Churchill Downs than Calvin Burrell. And his ride on Mind That Bird was a perfect example of it. Calvin purposely did this. He wanted to let him fall back and make one big run.
After the race, I was doing an interview for NBC. I had him up on the winner's stand. Calvin, how did you make it through that last hole? It didn't look like there was any room there at all.
Yeah, they had enough room. He's a small horse.
But I've never seen a horse come from that far back and win the Kentucky Derby.
50-1, Mind That Bird and Calvin Burrell with a huge upset, the second biggest upset in Derby history.
Mind That Bird actually went on to have the best 5-week period of his career, going on to take second at the Preakness and third at the Belmont. Now, if you make it out to the Kentucky Derby or just Churchill Downs for a visit, you can learn more about Mind That Bird and all the Kentucky Derby winners at the Kentucky Derby Museum. And Donna Barton Brothers has more on what to see and do in this week's Around the Downs presented by White Claw.
As a former jockey who's actually raced on the racetrack here at Churchill Downs, I love to come to the Derby Museum. But I know that people who've never even been to a race love to come. Can you talk to us about how there's something to offer for everyone?
Well, our mission here is to engage, excite, and educate everyone about the extraordinary event that is the Kentucky Derby.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
It's a really great way to experience the Derby any day of the year. This is how you're gonna get that Derby feeling. It just puts you in the day. When you come through the doors, you break through the gate and then you're off through the museum. That kind of kicks off your whole experience. Every year, you know, we have new exhibits. We just opened Dwayne Lucas, a modern trainer, and also Bill Shoemaker, larger than life. I mean, obviously those are two icons of the racing industry, and we're very fortunate to have their collections here with us in the museum. I think to be able to go in and kind of get up close and personal with the highlights of their careers is just really special. And if you're a diehard fan, you're gonna learn more history about your favorite horse or your favorite trainer or jockey. You're gonna get to explore all of the exhibits in the museum. You can watch our movie. We call it The Greatest Race, and it's shown in our 360-degree theater, the Great Hall, which is in the center of the museum. It's really our signature exhibit.
Talk to us about the proximity of the Derby Museum to Churchill Downs.
We are next door neighbors with Churchill Downs. We offer our historic walking tour. You're gonna go out, you're gonna check out the paddock, you're gonna get to see the track, and then we offer quite a few other tours that you can add on to kind of enhance your experience. Some people coming to visit us may have never had that opportunity to get up close with a horse, and I think that's important for our guests to experience. We always have a horse here on site. Tatanka is our brand new companion pony. He just came to the museum towards the end of December of 2018 into our new stable facility. And he will be our companion animal to our resident thoroughbred. And so there's always something new for people to see when they come visit us. Just with us being so close in the proximity, you could spend your morning exploring our 2 floors of exhibits and then go and spend the day with kind of a different context, I think, when you go over there after you've been with us and kind of learn a little more about the race, about the history of the Derby. If you want to just come in for lunch or do a little shopping in our gift shop, you can do that as well, or get the full experience. We say every day in the museum is Derby Day, and we hope when people come through our doors, that's the feeling that they get.
If you want to experience the Kentucky Derby in person, then visit KentuckyDerby.com for tickets. If you can't make it to the track, then you can always find everything you need to host your own authentic Derby watch party at KentuckyDerby.com. Coming up next, trainer Richard Mandela and Omaha Beach barely upset Bob Baffert and favorite game winner in the Rebel Stakes. It wasn't very neighborly.
Well, I'm neighbors with Bob Baffert, so as I walk through his barn every day, I'm always listening and watching. He won't tell me anything. He's very selfish that way.
And later,
I would still consider Mike a father figure and like a father to me because he means that much to me and he's done that much for me.
welcome back to the Road to the Kentucky Derby, presented by Woodford Reserve.
We mentioned Oaklawn is home to the Arkansas Derby, but it also plays host to the Rebel Stakes. And in mid-March, it was Bob Baffert's horse, Game Winner, that was the favorite. But as he found out, it was no day at the beach.
In his first start since winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in November, Game Winner, again ridden by Joel Rosario, was the favorite in Hot Springs. The second favorite was an up-and-coming horse named Omaha Beach.
He blew off his maiden race and won so easy.
Omaha Beach cruises by almost 10.
That it made us feel like we were doing the right thing to pick a big spot next time.
Veteran jockey Mike Smith was in the saddle for trainer Richard Mandela.
They don't come any better than Mike Smith, one of the all-time greats.
As the two favorites go into the gates next to each other, things would not change for the mile and 16th Rebel Stakes.
They're off. Good start. Omaha Beach caught a flyer and goes to the front.
He looked like he was well in control of things around the first turn, not in a big hurry. And then down the backside, Mike and I had said, you know, he's a free enough runner. Let him move along.
Omaha Beach makes his move. Omaha Beach, a length in front of Market King. Then comes Game Winner.
When you turn for home, try to open it up a little bit. And he did that and then had the courage to hang on.
They run to the top of the stretch. Omaha Beach is in front. Game Winner trying to gun him down on the money, and Rosario says it's game time. Game Winner, Omaha Beach, right together, and Omaha Beach turned him away.
The second place finish was the first loss in 5 starts for Game Winner. Mandela and Omaha Beach will look for the same outcome in their next race, which will more than likely be against another Baffert horse.
Well, I'm neighbors with Bob Baffert, so as I walk through his barn every day, I'm always listening and watching. He won't tell me anything. He's very selfish that way.
The win means Mandela is going back to the Kentucky Derby.
Derby, here we come.
Although the road to the Kentucky Derby starts in September, the points go up when the Championship Series starts in mid-February. A victory here means you're running for the roses the first Saturday of May. Let's get a sample in this week's Horse Tracks.
From way out of it, takes the Gotham Stakes.
Will I leave you, you are not to hear me ever again. I hope you ask his car. I'm going out. You've led my anger soar.
War of Will was welcome again from the risen star from Country House.
Code of Honor is going to hang on to win the Fountain of Youth 3 points of a length.
As they go to the wire, Patty Newman just got in.
By Mark Standard, the win of Louisiana Derby.
Coming up next, a special bond that won't be broken.
I'll follow his career. As soon as I retire, then I'll be his biggest cheerleader, and I'll still be there to mentor him, and we'll always do that.
Welcome back to the road to the Kentucky Derby, presented by Woodford Reserve.
Last year, Mike Smith became the oldest jockey to win the Triple Crown at 52 years old. And in a career that has spanned decades, he's won some of the biggest races in the world. And even though he stays in incredible shape, he'll be 54 this August, so who knows when he'll hang up those silks for the last time. But until then, he's giving back to the sport as a mentor. Let's take a look in this week's Connections.
Okay, quiet on the set, guys.
You've got the moniker Big Money Mike.
Yeah, that was a Bob Baffert deal there. They can call me whatever they want to call me, as long as they're still calling me something, I know I'm around. Well, I'd been blessed to have been inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2003, and something was missing. And although we were 50-1, I can honestly tell you, I knew that was gonna be the one. I knew that was gonna be the first one.
It's Giacomo who has won the 131st Kentucky Derby.
This just has to be a special, special day for you.
Oh God, it certainly is. I can't tell you. I can't even hardly think of the words to say.
It changes your life when you become a Derby winner.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mike is a physical freak.
Always makes me feel like I got an edge on somebody if I feel like I'm fitter, you know, and stronger.
Definitely Mike got me into it. Working out with him has made me a better rider, stronger rider.
I'll train 5 days a week. I'll do cardio for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'll train with Tony for another hour after that. and then I go to the jocks room and get ready to ride. And the first time I met him, he'd come in the jocks room and he was working on the equicizer. And I just went in there and introduced myself.
And he showed me little things on the equicizer, and we hit it off like right away.
Became kind of his kind of big brother, you know, kind of mentor.
I roomed with him at Del Mar, and that's when we became really, really close. We're around each other all the time.
When you can do that and talk horses, you know, all the time, you learn a whole lot quicker. And he's so talented, and he's got a mind for it as well. You know, he's like a sponge.
You learn a lot from good riders.
Every conversation, everything he'd do, you know, we were there together to discuss it and to figure it out, and it helped him a lot, and it helped me a whole lot as well.
So last year, you got the opportunity to ride your first Derby.
It was wild. First of all, I got wiped out by a rider right out of the gate. I mean, he took a left, and I almost lost my iron. I can barely see. I mean, there's 19 other horses in front of me. But once the race got into motion, I was in the zone. I had a really good trip, to be honest. I think I was like 60 or 70 to 1 or something, and run fourth. Yeah, it was awesome, and I can't wait to do it again if I get the chance.
They're coming to the wire. He's just awesome.
It was just an incredible ride.
Justify has won the Kentucky Derby.
It just felt like it was meant to be before we even started. It just felt right. Everything about it, even his name. I mean, it was all meant to be.
Even if my father was still around, I would still consider Mike a father figure and like a father to me, because he means that much to me, and he's done that much for me, and I'm very, very blessed to have him.
We're so tight, it doesn't end, you know, in the jocks room or on the racetrack. I'll follow his career. As soon as I retire, then I'll be his biggest cheerleader, and I'll still be there to mentor him, and we'll always do that.
What a great story, and we wish both of those guys the best of luck. Well, that does it for us here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We'll see you on our next stop in Louisville and the Cathedral of Horse Racing, Churchill Downs, where preparations are already underway to welcome over 150,000 of our friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you there.
Don't let him over. Little E.T. trying to move up the inside. I see you, little
Here you
E.T.
come, down the home stretch.
Come on, come on.
Yeah. Cue the traffic, drop the wind, maybe a little rain. Okay.
Oh,
Yes!
you won.
I won.
There you go. We just need your garland of roses.
Actually, I was really excited. I really wanted to win that race.
Oh, there's motorcycles. Great. Drive it like you stole it. Okay.